Are you like us? Tired of all the politically correct horse shit on podcasts and in the media? Need a podcast that's funny, smart, and gassy? It's not politically correct. It's just correct. This is the Carolina Underground. Throw that middle finger in the air. Raise them up. Because it's time to get loud, proud, and in your face. Generation X. Generation X. The best generation of all time meets the grit of the South. It's about everything and nothing at all. From current events to woolly boogers to movies to politics. Loud, brash, funny, and never, and I do mean never, predictable. The Carolina Underground with Mark and Mike.
Yo, 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 it's the Carolina Underground, and we're coming to you live again from the replica bat cave and somewhere in the deep, dark depths of the mysterious Sparkleberry.
You know, Sparkleberry is mysterious from time to time.
It is. I heard y'all got a haunted graveyard down there too.
Oh no, we got all kinds of haints in Spartanburg. My son, I'm not sure if they're actually going to be doing it anymore, but they had a bus tour, haunted bus tour that they do during Halloweeny season, and my son has narrated that for the past several years. But yeah,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's all manner of haints, especially in downtown Spartanburg. It's a pretty haunted place if you get down to it.
Well, you know, this week we lost 4 main stars of our era that were big names.
Well, I know Richard Simmons passed, but I almost intentionally don't plug into social media and I try to limit my exposure to the mainstream news media as well, because it's so I missed a bunch of stuff, but I did hear Richard Simmons passed.
Richard Simmons passed. Shelley Duvall passed.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Dr. Ruth Westheimer, the sex doctor.
Dr. Ruth passed? Oh, my goodness. Who in the world
she was 96.
Who in the world will encourage young girls to use anal or to try anal sex if Dr. Ruth is gone?
It's not going to be me. We've lost, and the other one was Shannon Doherty.
Oh, wow.
The girl that played on 90210. Of course, I think she's been battling cancer for a long time, and it wasn't as recent, but we also lost Martin Mull.
Martin Mull, no kidding. Yeah, he was a comedian.
Yeah, he'd been in from Clue, Sabrina, he'd been in Roseanne, he'd been in a bunch of stuff. And then, of course, the big news of everybody, we've been about lost Donald Trump last night at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Well, I mean, obviously you didn't see the New York Times where they said that he was merely startled and fell down, or he fell down after being startled by a loud noise. That was the New York Times reporting.
Pretty much shot.
No, yeah, I know. I saw the footage, and you know.
Well, now, but see, this brings an interesting thing to light, and this shows, you know, as we have discussed politics and stuff going along, because, you know, we don't usually like politics. We ain't real fond of politicians.
We try to avoid it, but it's hard to avoid in this day and age.
Well, go ahead. It is. Mm-hmm. But you had, for some of all the stuff that Donald Trump's going through now, part of it is words that he said leading up to January 6th. Mm-hmm. Well, 5 days ago, Joe Biden was quoted as there needs to be a bullseye on Donald Trump. So is he not now going to be indicted for the same stuff that they've been raking Trump through the coals for?
Oh, of course he's not. Of course he's not. But
it's the same thing.
Well, I mean, again, in the first place, there are such things as free speech and political speech. But I mean, again, it is and we've discussed this before. Everybody talks about there's a two-tier justice system. No, there's a multi-tier justice system.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So there's the justice system, or there's the tier for the people that actually own the planet. Okay. And we're talking money that goes back. I mean, this is the true old money. This is money that's been around since there's been a concept of money. Okay. And I mean, again, we've talked about how some of these folks are, they trace their lineage back to William the Conqueror. And of course,
Hmm.
prior to that, I mean, William the Conqueror had lineage. He had parents. So, and I mean, those are the actual one percenters or less than one percenters. And then you've got the nouveau riche, which are and they're useful idiots, which are the people like Jeff Bezos and George Soros and Bill Gates. And and there is a decidedly different justice tier or sense of justice. Those people can do what they want with impunity, even through the useful idiots. And the
Oh yeah.
useful idiots include the Bidens and the Pelosi's and the McConnells and the Schumers and the Nadlers and all of the names that and you know and then there's us, the plebes and the peons, and we have rules that we have to live by, or we are supposed to live by, and those rules are changed by the capricious nature of the people who have the power to do so. And I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to have a lecturing tone on that, but it's the thing is, it is as plain as the nose on its face. And I mean, again, you learned about Madame Borgia and and of course the intrigue in the War of the Roses and the Plantagenets and all of that stuff, Henry VIII. And for some reason, people seem to have this belief somehow that we're just better than they are now. I mean, hell, King David, lusted after, lusted after, and it started. The man's name was, all I can think of is Abimelech, and it's not Abimelech. Was it Abimelech? No, it wasn't Abimelech. At any rate, so I mean, the whole thing, and Nietzsche said power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I agree with that, but I also think that there's a component that power attracts the corruptible and absolute power attracts the absolutely corruptible, because absolute
Or the
power,
already corrupted.
yeah, I mean, absolute power attracts the people that will do anything to obtain that power. So it's just, I mean, it's two sides of the same coin. It's just a different way of saying it. But I mean, again, we're no better today. I mean, and I think we've discussed that before as well. People think that we're, because we are more technologically advanced, that we're smarter than and better informed than our predecessors. And that's simply not true. I mean, I've told you the stories about my grandparents using an old dried up well as a refrigerator. Okay.
Right.
I mean, how many people would think of that today? Not many, unless they heard me talking about it, or yeah, I mean, I'm sure some people would. But I also found that back in I want to say the 1800s, it might have been the late 1700s, in the Industrial Revolution area, they developed a thing called a Crossley cold ball. And I did not know this thing existed until just days ago. And
Hmm.
I found out about it, and basically it's two steel canisters and a piping mechanism that connects them, and some valves and whatnot. I mean, they're not really valves; they're mostly stuff to stop anything from sloshing back and forth between the containers. But you got water and ammonia in them, and you heat the ammonia, one of the balls that has ammonia in it, you heat it. They used kerosene. You heat it up. It takes the ammonia out of solution in the one and puts it into solution in the other ball. And that's the
Hmm.
charging step. Now, once you get it heated up and it has charged it fully to about, it brings the pressure up to around, 230 psi or something like that, from what I remember, relatively cursory. I'm considering building one because I'm fascinated by it. But at any rate, so the ammonia gas then travels into the water in the other ball and saturates that water. Now, the thing is, ammonia has a boiling point of about minus 25 degrees Celsius. So once you have charged it, i.e., you've had the kerosene heater under there to heat it up and get all the ammonia into gaseous state, you take the heat out from under it, and then the ammonia goes back from the other ball into
Hmm.
the original bowl and goes back into solution in the ammonium hydroxide. Well, the ammonia water solution, which should be ammonia hydroxide. At any rate, when it does that, the second ball drops down to minus 25 degrees Celsius. So they used that for refrigeration, and they actually used some of that in like RV heaters and coolers and
Hmm.
whatnot. But and again, it's one of those things where ammonia is a whole lot kinder to the environment than any of these freons that we use. But DuPont doesn't make wouldn't make nearly as much money off of ammonia as they do freon. So that technology, well, I mean, there's other problems with the technology, but anyway. I just thought that was an interesting thing. But I'm sorry, I digressed and I got lost in my own ramblings. But the point is, people were probably smarter. Well, I'm not going to say probably. For the most part, people were smarter prior to television and YouTube and the internets than they are now. I mean, because now everybody's spending all their time looking at porn and cat videos. So,
Well, I might look at porn, but I don't watch cat videos.
yeah, well, there you go. But anyway,
You can
back
see some
to
interesting stuff on the porn.
you could, well, I'm gonna hush. I'm gonna get. And you can see all kind of stuff you
Because
don't
we had
want to see.
totally went way off the topic,
Yeah. Well,
and I don't know what this has to do with the assassination attempt of Donald Trump.
it doesn't. Well, I mean, the whole thing about that with the assassination attempt of Donald Trump, of course, all of the left wingers are downplaying it. My sister happens to be relatively left leaning, and she was downplaying. Oh well, he just got shot in the ear, and I told her, I said,
Well,
don't
yeah, but if he
even.
hadn't had his head turned, he would have been shot in the base of the skull, and he would have ceased to live.
No, absolutely, they were trying to kill him. I said, don't downplay what happened. This was an assassination attempt. And I mean, again, the thing is, and some of the stuff that's come to light, apparently there was, I mean, again, a lot of people saw the man climb in the building with a gun, and a local law enforcement individual climbed up there. And then when he leveled his gun at the law enforcement official, the law enforcement official retreated, giving him time to shoot at at Trump. But again, and
And then, of course, the Secret Service shot him right between the eyes. So,
of course, of course. Now, again, and if you look at how they had everything set up, they should have had nobody should have had a chance to get to the top of that building. They should have been watching that thing
that's
like a
what
hawk.
my question was. Was it a since because it is verified that the Trump campaign had been asking for more manpower.
Oh, absolutely. And
So
it is,
is it a failure of the government's position to provide the manpower and thus cause the failure of the Secret Service itself?
well,
Or was it something more nefarious?
again, on our very podcast, I have question why it has taken them this long to attempt to assassinate him, why they hadn't attempted to
Well, I
assassinate him
actually
yet.
thought if there one of them was going to be an assassination was going to be attempted on, I always thought it would have been Barack Obama before it would have been anybody else.
Well, now I saw an interesting statistic this morning. All of the assassinations and assassination attempts. Matter of fact, let me look that up real quick because it was really interesting because there were more than I, there were more attempts than I was aware of. Let me see if I can find that
Well,
real
while
quick.
you're looking that up, I will give you the quote from the Daily Beast today is that Russia is gloating over the shooting, and their headline is Trump has Biden's balls in his hand.
All righty. So, all right. So, here's the assassinated presidents. 1865, Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah,
1881, James Garfield. 1901,
yeah,
William McKinley.
yeah.
1963, John F. Kennedy. Okay. Presidents wounded.
Reagan.
1912, Theodore Roosevelt. Now, I mean, again, Theodore Roosevelt was shot in the chest and then gave a 2-hour speech after being shot in the
Yeah, that
chest.
was a man's man. He was
Yep.
in the Bull Moose Party.
Oh, absolutely. 1981, Ronald Reagan. Now 2024, Donald Trump. Out of all of those presidents that I have just listed, how many of them were Democrats?
Well, I know John F. Kennedy was, so
And
I'm gonna say one.
he is the only one out of all of them that have been shot, assassinated, or wounded. One has been a
I
Democrat.
wonder what the statistics are on the people that shot him.
Yeah, well, again, I'm not saying, and I don't want to dive into conspiracy theory on all of this stuff because, and I mean,
Don't worry, my wife has done that enough for the both of us already,
oh, I'm sure.
and evidently conspiracy has already swirled.
Well, see, yeah, that was the other huge take that you're seeing on all of the mainstream media is, oh, this will fuel more conspiracy theories among the conspiracy theorists. So I don't even want to go down that road. Now, and of course, in the conversation that I had with my sister after I snapped her ears back for downplaying the fact that it was an assassination attempt, it wasn't just he hurt his ear. The she said, well, I wonder if there was any mental illness involved. Well, of course there was mental illness involved. Okay. Anytime that a human being decides to take the life of another who is not threatening their life at the time, there's mental illness
Mm-hmm.
involved.
Most
You're
definitely.
unhinged. Okay. But it's, again, it's absolute absurdity at this point. If anybody pulls the lever for the Democrats, they're an enemy of the citizenry of the United States, period. I mean, it's just beyond that. I'm sorry. You cannot pull the lever for a Democrat in the voting booth and not be an enemy of the United States at this point. I'll state
I
that.
kind of agree with that.
Now it's questionable
Although
if pulling
it's
the lever
questionable.
for,
Actually, it's questionable on both sides, though.
well, that's what I was going to say. It's questionable. It's time to see if the Republican Party is actually going to become a party that actually does anything. But again, the conservatives don't riot, so that's a good thing. So there won't be a whole bunch of property damage and people's lives threatened and people being unable to get to work. But the other side of that coin is that the
Kind of
conservative,
seems like a waste of time, then, though.
well, it's the other side of that coin is that the conservatives don't do enough when situations like this
And
occur.
the liberals go too far and do too much.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and I don't even consider them liberals. All right. Liberals are harmless. Leftists are evil. Okay. And it's the progressives, the ones that I mean, again, I heard, I've never seen a gay pride parade. And based on what I've heard, I hope I never see one because from what I understand, especially in these big cities, that, I mean, they're performing acts of perversion in front of children. And it's just this whole thing. It's just, I'm tired. I am sick and tired, and I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Sick and tired, I was going to say.
I just want to see some actual leadership that has even a modicum of sense. Okay. Now, I mean, I'm sure these people
Well, you
are,
asking for a lot.
yeah, I'm sure these people are really, really good at making money for themselves. Okay. I'm tired of it. I want to see, I know I'm not going to be able to get out of paying my tax dollars because they'll throw me in jail. Okay. But
And
I
then
want,
make you pay for being in jail.
yeah, exactly. I just want some people that have a lick of sense. Okay. And that's all I'm after. I want some people.
Well, I
I
mean,
think
we
it's,
have been,
go
we
ahead.
both said this before. Is I'm embarrassed by both of them,
Oh,
truthfully.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, I don't want to see either one of them get killed,
Oh, yeah.
but I don't necessarily want to see either one of them president of the United States either.
No. Well, and again, the president of the United States, yeah, it's an important thing. But the federal government is just ridiculously beyond the scope of what it was designed to do.
Oh,
Okay.
most definitely.
And I want to see in my own state legislature and in my own county council and I mean, I want to see some people that are not just windbag buffoons and are actually doing the dadgum job. It's time that we develop a party. We should have a populist party in the United States, and every dadgum body with a pulse ought to be in it. And that populist party ought to give ought to put forth some candidates that will actually do the dadgum job. In South Carolina, there is a have I said this before? I think I did. There's like a $1.6 million surplus in the budget.
I thought it was billion.
I think it is billion, but I'm trying to be conservative. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. And these roads are god awful. But we got a surplus in the budget. You can't use that for the roads. We got to put another tax on you to fix the roads. Well, no, if there's a 1.6, if there's a surplus, instead of that money going to feather the nest of some politician or some pet project for some politician, it ought to go to take care of the people or be given back to the people of this state.
Most definitely.
And we don't have politicians that have that level, that basic level of common decency. And that's the problem. And it's going to continue to be a problem until the people get together and say enough is enough. You're hired to do a job, do the dadgum job, and then
And
get out
shut
of there.
up.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I don't know. I mean, again, I just was it. You could knock me over with a feather that the assassination attempt occurred. I'm extremely grateful that it was not successful.
Well, I
I
feel bad for that firefighter that lost his life for shielding his
absolutely,
family.
absolutely, absolutely. But I mean, again, that's what you.
And
That's
I'm not going to mention the shooter's name because I don't believe there should ever be mentioned other than some asshat got shot in the face by the Secret Service and got sent to hell where he belonged.
no. I agree. I agree.
But what
But
I find amazing is people, particularly on a particular side of the aisle, use this. Well, I wonder if this will change his stance on gun control and stuff like that.
oh, of
And they still
course,
haven't grasped the fact that that rifle didn't climb that roof
not by
and did
itself.
not shoot those bullets by itself.
Yep.
If the if that rifle was left to its own devices, it would have been wherever it was stored at.
Yep. I have never seen a single round of ammunition of its own volition jump into a firearm and go off. Well, of course, that's another thing that did happen. I heard about a few days ago. Alec Baldwin's trial was thrown out because of lack of evidence, as I understand it, or their failure to the prosecution failing to share or disclose information about a box of ammo. So it was thrown out on a technicality. Again, there's your
But
multi-tier
still, though,
justice
I
system.
mean, if you're going to, I don't see that as a two-tier justice system. If
Well,
you
no,
don't
no,
play by the rules, then
no. I'm back. Go ahead. I mean, finish your statement, and I'll tell you
no.
what I'm
I was
talking about.
just saying that if you don't, the defense is entitled to everything the prosecution has, and if they
One
don't share it, then
100% correct. Absolutely. But that's another example of the two-tier justice system, because if you recall, in the 34 misdemeanor counts that were upgraded to a felony count by novel law theory in New York, they didn't even tell the jury or the defense what the actual crime they were prosecuting him for was until jury deliberation started
well,
in
I
the
don't
jury
even think they all
instructions.
agreed on the same ones.
And that's right. They didn't have to agree on the same ones. So so if you're Alec Baldwin and you're a useful idiot because you're in Hollywood,
Well,
you
I don't
get
know how
one
useful
tier of
he is. I
justice.
ain't never seen him. I ain't seen one or two movies he's been in that's been any good, and
Well, I
they
mean,
were years ago.
no, well, I mean, that's just useful idiot is just a term of art.
And we
I'm
should
not sure
notice
how
that
useful he is.
AT&T had a massive hack that stole all everybody's data, and they ended
Yeah.
up paying 300 and some $1,000 to the hacker to delete said data.
Yeah, but they didn't actually delete it. My understanding is that stuff is all over the dark web. And, again, and I'm one of those people whose data was hacked. And they basically said, sorry, you need to change your password. Oh, and here's somebody that you can pay to take care of the problem that we created for you. But again, that's the same
Well, I
thing
have
that,
a feeling that will be a class action lawsuit.
well, but the thing is, the class action lawsuit won't do anything except make some lawyer fabulously wealthy. But this is the whole point. It's like, again, home title lock insurance. Okay. The government and these companies are keeping these records and recording this information. Okay. They should be held 100% responsible for the security of that information. And if it bankrupts that company, if they screw up, then so be it. If it bankrupts that government, if they screw up, so be it. It should not become my responsibility as a citizen to safeguard the information, my information that I have to provide to these entities in order to do business with
Mhm.
them. Okay. But again, we have a multi-tiered justice system. So they have different rules. They're not responsible if they screw up. I'm responsible if they screw up. And that's what that is what the entirety of the United States was envisioned by our founding fathers to stop this kind of nonsense. And
Well, no, but we have already discussed that if the
oh,
founding fathers were transported back today, they would be drafting a new Declaration of Independence.
If the founding fathers saw what's going on today, I think they'd just shake their heads in disgust and go back to England. I really
Probably.
do. I mean, it's just anyway. I'm sorry. I just need to hush.
You're
you
just
know,
a little grumpy today.
well, I'm tired. Now, again, one of the greatest events of my life occurred yesterday. My oldest daughter got married. And
Awesome.
she's got her a good
Congratulations.
man. She's got her a good man, and thank you
And
very
for the
much.
record, it is not me. There are other good men besides me.
And that's overshadowed, and that joy is overshadowed by this nonsense. Okay. And so I can't just be sitting here talking about how beautiful my daughter was in her wedding dress, how proud I was to walk her Now, it wasn't down an aisle. It was down to be perfectly honest. Um, and Well, so it wasn't quite what you'd call an aisle. We were at it was a wedding venue, but you had to go down a hill. And I mean, it was a beautiful pathway. Do not get me wrong. It was absolutely gorgeous. But if OSHA saw that, thought about the fact,
Well,
that's
fortunately,
true.
OSHA doesn't
But
control
so
weddings.
the stones were natural.
Except now, though, after the Supreme Court ruling, it'd be questionable whether
Well,
OSHA
that's
could actually do
entirely true.
anything about it or not.
But so the stones on the pathway down. So I mean, it was pretty good, pretty steep pathway going down. They were natural stones, not river rocks. They weren't smooth. They had a textured surface, and I mean they were flat, okay, but they weren't evenly.
But they had enough that they were good enough
You
that you
could
could
get
still
your toe
probably
hung.
get your
And
toe
I mean,
hung in
again,
something.
I have never seen a bride that didn't wear heels. Never once. And of course, they're not completely evenly spaced because it's going down the side of a hill. And so it was wide enough for the bride, but it wasn't wide enough for the bride and me. So I walked down the side of the hill in the dirt and did my best to make sure that I didn't slip and that she didn't fall. But nonetheless, now, and don't, again, I am not being critical. I just think that they should probably do a little bit more work on that rock path, just a wee bit more. Uh, but anyway, it was an absolutely beautiful thing. And instead of again of being able, well, thank you.
That
And
is so
instead of
glad to
sitting
hear.
here and crowing and being a proud papa, I got to talk about political insanity. I mean, it's just, and I don't guess I've got to, but
Well, we could pop open a bottle of Paul Roger and just say
well, there
what
you go.
Michael Whitehall said.
But
I'm not going to say it right now. I could be prompted to
entirely.
say it before we close the show. But if you don't know and you don't
If
know,
you know,
then
you
you
know.
just don't
If
know.
you don't know, you don't know. So there you go.
Well, I celebrated a birthday this weekend. Of course, my joy of all of that and celebrating with friends and family, kind of like the wedding, was
Right.
overshadowed by all this stuff. But I got an interesting gift this weekend that a lot of people look at me and just scratch their heads and just like, why did you even want that? Or why do you even think
All
that is a
right.
good
Do
gift?
tell.
And I'm gonna preface this by saying I have a warm spot in my heart for places, and I don't know that they were really all that great. It's just I remember them as a
Mm-hmm.
kid, and they're not here anymore. So that means they're just that much more better because I don't experience them now in the woke world that they would have become.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in my town, one of the best department stores
Oh yeah,
was a
I
store
remember
called
Zayres.
Zayres.
Mm-hmm.
I used to love Zayres.
Right.
That was my favorite store. Well, my friend Velma, who does all that hard work to keep me looking so pretty and so young, takes my hair, makes my hair look good, all that good stuff. Make sure I eat supper and stuff like I'm supposed to because she knows my wife can burn water and she keeps my body and soul together. She found
Oh
a
my goodness.
Zayre shopping bag. And it's just a little plastic shopping bag, but that gift right there meant more to me than any gift
Well, that is
that I've ever
outstanding.
gotten.
But again, back in those, I mean, again, in
That
the
is,
United States, we used to have the understanding that competition makes things better. And so you had, again, you had Zayres, you had Macy's, you had the Woolworths, you had, you had Eckerd's,
Woolworths,
you
yeah.
had
Eckerd's. Because that was back when Eckert's had soda fountains in it, because we
Yep,
used to
you
go to the
had
Eckert's to get a patty
Roses, you
melt.
had Sears, you had all manner of these. Sky
Yep.
City, I worked at Sky
Sky
City. I
City.
actually lost my job at Sky City because I lied about my age when they hired me and they found out. But anyway, only
Oh,
job I was ever fired from.
well, I haven't been. I can't say that because I get fired weekly, but I
But,
still get hired back.
again, and then we allowed Walmart, China Mart to squeeze out and destroy all of their competition.
But Walmart didn't start out like that.
That's
Walmart actually
correct.
started out like the rest of them. So it was after the old man
Yep,
died out, and
absolutely.
everybody got greedy.
And, I mean, again, and this is what happened. And we used to laugh at the Soviet Union because they would have one entity that provided everything. And when you do that, it's just, yeah,
We have
that's
two.
it.
It's Walmart and
I mean,
Amazon.
we are, all of the things that we used to laugh at the Russians and the Soviet Union, not the Russians, but the Soviet Union for doing, we're now doing
Mm-hmm.
more so than they ever did.
Yep, most definitely. And the best and the funniest thing is I watch on TikTok a guy that lives in
Uh-huh.
Russia that is an American, and he's taken a Russian version of a candy bar and a drink and looking at the ingredients
Hmm.
versus the ones that we have to buy here. And theirs are all products and natural
Yep.
stuff that you can actually pronounce. Ours are all chemicals and dyes and added this and
Well,
added
again,
that,
that's
added
the
everything
thing.
else.
And I told you about. I'm not a huge fan of Netflix because of their tendency to put kiddie porn on there, and call it other stuff. But on the
Right.
Netflix, they had this series that was done about the blue zones. And the blue zones are where the majority of the
Hmm.
population lives to be well into their hundreds, and they're vital during the time.
That's because they stay virile right up to the
Well,
end
but I
because they
mean,
put
again,
yak
they
butter in
do
their teeth.
all of this stuff that is, the two main things that separate them from everywhere else in the world is, one, they don't have a bunch of fast food and crud like that. I mean, again, it's like they're on islands that don't have deep
Hmm.
water ports, so they don't have a McDonald's popping up on every corner. And the other thing is they don't have
Right, right.
access to modern medicine. They have to take care of themselves, you know?
It's funny. We're talking about
Hmm.
this and we're talking about fast food. One of the new ads about about this actually is targeted at
Hmm.
McDonald's. We've all seen those pictures of those 30-year-old McDonald
Right.
hamburgers that haven't really changed. But part of their new push, talking about how there's no artificial preservatives in their food, if for Burger King actually has a time lapse picture of a Whopper molding showing that there are
Uh-huh.
no artificial
Well, that's
preservatives
good.
in their food. And I thought that was kind of interesting to contrast because if McDonald's hamburgers look the same 30
Hmm.
years after they're made, imagine what kind of stuff that's putting off
Oh,
in us that
no
we've been
doubt.
eating them for
But
years.
again, that was the other thing. You used to be able to afford to go to the grocery store. It used to be more expensive to get this quote unquote fast food than was to cook your own. Okay. And now
Oh, right,
it's
most definitely.
cheaper in a lot of cases to just go out to these fast food places. And so, I mean, again, it's all because of people who want to force you to do what they want you to do because they profit off of it. And it's, anyway, it just, I, and I'm just so tired of the fact that there are people out there again, sitting there talking to people and whatnot, and oh, well, Trump's a piece of crap. Well, really, how do you know that? Oh, he doesn't pay his people. Well, if he doesn't pay his people, yeah.
Well, how do you know he doesn't pay them? Because
Yeah,
evidently
that's my
there's a
thing.
lot
If
of people that
somebody
still
doesn't
work
pay
for him.
me, I stop working for them. I go work for somebody that does pay me.
Right.
That's what I do. And then DEI. How in the world can people with a straight face say with a straight face that DEI is not racism? Anything that makes decisions based on your race, ethnicity, or skin color is racism.
Is racist.
Period. And no,
People just don't know.
it's
They
not
can't
that
see
they
the
don't
forest through
know.
the
They
trees.
just are willfully stupid. I mean, it's just pure willful ignorance.
Well,
And
there's a
there's a
lot of
word for that,
stupidity
and it is
around the
called
world.
asinine. So, yes, I am.
Well,
And
you're breaking out the big
asininity
words
is
tonight.
willful stupidity, intentionally being ignorant because it fits the way that that makes you happy. So anyway, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm grumpy. I am very, very grumpy.
Well, the good thing about it is the episode. This episode is
Well, but we
wrapped up
didn't
and
even
coming
get to
to an end.
talk about the floating men and stuff like that. My goodness, I'm sorry.
Well, let's save that for next week. We'll talk about
Absolutely.
the floating
All right,
men
my
next
friend.
week.
My apologies.
And first off, but first and above all, we are thankful
We
that Donald Trump
absolutely are.
was not assassinated. We are really our heartfelt condolences go out to the family of the people that were injured and the person that I think it's one that was killed so far. My heartfelt condolences don't
No,
go
not
out
at
to
all.
the shooter's family.
I agree with you completely.
Not at all. Because y'all probably contributed to the delusionment and derangement that the individual suffered from.
Absolutely, my friend. I appreciate you. And you have a wonderful night.
I appreciate you as well. I wish you and I wish your wonderful daughter and her new husband all the happiness in the world. And just to reiterate, I did not marry her. I know I'm a good man, but there are other ones beside me.
Well,
and with that, that is the snout to the curly tail and everything in
y'all have a good
between.
night.
And we gone.
All right, you crazy bunch of motherfuckers. Wait, can we say mother? Anyway, you've been listening to the Carolina Underground. It isn't politically correct, it's just correct. Our motto is, if you can't go balls deep, don't go at all. Actually, that's not our motto, and I'm sorry, I don't even know what that meant. All right, we gotta go. We hope you enjoyed the show. And if you didn't, we hope it really pissed you off. Follow us on Twitter at Carolina UNDGRND Underground, get it? Or drop us an email at Carolina UNDGRND, get it? At northstate.net. We want to hear from you. Y'all be cool. See you next time on Carolina Underground.